Was Menglong's final breath captured on camera? The world stands frozen as a newly surfaced video from fan Shiqi's phone shatters the silence surrounding Menglong's mysterious death. In the grainy, trembling footage, moments of confusion spiral into something far darker, something no one was meant to see. What really happened in those final seconds? Let's uncover the truth and dive deep into the chilling mystery that has left fans trembling across the globe. Was Menglong's final breath captured on camera? That single question ripped through the internet like lightning the moment the leaked footage surfaced. Fans froze mid-scroll. News anchors stumbled over their words. And the entire entertainment industry seemed to hold its breath. The grainy clip, barely 2 minutes and 43 seconds long, was enough to unravel months of speculation, denials, and rumors that had swirled since the night Menglong was found lifeless in a hotel room. But what truly stunned the world wasn't just his death. It was who had been behind the camera. Fan Shiqi, his longtime friend, co-star, and the man seen in the video, had stayed silent for months. Now, his phone had spoken for him. The footage didn't appear on official channels. It was first uploaded anonymously, through a foreign server, under a title so vague it might have been ignored. For the truth, within minutes, viewers realized what they were seeing. Trembling lens. The dimly lit hotel room. The breathless panic. Menglong sat slumped against the bed, his face drenched in sweat, eyes wide and unfocused. "Turn it off," he murmured, voice trembling. "They'll know." Then came the convulsions, the desperate gasps, and Fan Shiqi's voice screaming his name before the screen plunged into static. For hours afterward, disbelief flooded social media. Was it staged? Was it real? The video spread faster than anyone could contain it. By dawn, the police confirmed its authenticity. It was indeed taken from Fan Shiqi's confiscated phone. Evidence from the night everything fell apart. And just like that, the whispers began again. Only a handful of people knew what had happened inside room 807 that October night. To the rest of the world, Menglong's death had been ruled unexplained cardiac arrest, but the truth, as the footage suggested, was far from simple. It hinted at fear, something deeper than exhaustion or illness. Something that had followed him long before his final hour. In the weeks leading up to his death, Menglong's behavior had begun to change. Described him as distracted. His once easy smile replaced with fleeting looks of dread. During interviews, he fumbled words, his gaze drifting off as if he were listening to a voice no one else could hear. On set, he forgot lines he'd known for years. Laughed it off as lack of sleep. "I'm fine," he kept saying. "Just tired." But everyone around him knew that wasn't the whole story. Fan Shiqi was one of the few who tried to reach him. They had grown close over the years, bonded by long shoots, shared frustrations, and the unspoken understanding that fame was both gift and curse. To fans, they were brothers. Off-screen, they often were. But something had driven a wedge between them in the final weeks. Crew members remembered their arguments behind closed doors. Once, someone overheard you shouting, "You promised you wouldn't say anything," and Fan's voice breaking in reply, "Then tell me what's going on." Whatever that secret was, it never made it to daylight. 2 nights before his death, Menglong canceled an appearance, retreating to a seaside hotel for rest. He checked into room 807 under his real name, accompanied only by Fan Shiqi. The two were seen eating quietly in the hotel restaurant, their faces tense. Later that evening, witnesses claimed they heard raised voices from upstairs. No one intervened. By morning, one of them would be dead, and the other would be forever changed. The leaked footage reopened every wound. What exactly had Fan Shiqi been recording that night, and why? At first glance, it seemed spontaneous, a friend capturing a troubling moment, unsure what else to do. But as investigators dug deeper, discovered something chilling. The phone's metadata revealed that the camera had been turned on before the convulsions began, nearly 3 minutes earlier. It wasn't a panicked reaction. It was preparation. Was Fan expecting something to happen? The question haunted everyone. The more people watched, the more details emerged, the faint reflection of movement in the mirror. The way Yu's eyes darted toward the door seconds before his collapse. The flicker of lights like a dying pulse. Fans, amateur sleuths, and forensic analysts alike tore through every frame, each discovery spawning 1,000 new questions. Meanwhile, Fan Shiqi's silence deepened. His social media went dark. His publicist quit, and his family refused interviews. When police finally released a statement confirming that the video had been part of the official investigation, public anger erupted. Had it been hidden? What else were they withholding? Justice for Menglong trended worldwide as calls for transparency grew louder. But truth has a way of hiding behind layers of noise. And in this case, those layers ran deep. To understand the tragedy of Menglong's final seconds, one must step back into the final days of his life, when warning signs were everywhere. But no one knew how to read them. October 1st. Yu posted his last message online. Sometimes silence says more than truth. At the time, fans saw it as poetic melancholy, a reflection of his introspective nature. Now, it reads like a farewell. That same evening, he texted fam Shiqi, "Need to talk." Not here. Somewhere quiet. They met the next morning in a cafe by the harbor. Witnesses say they looked exhausted. Yu kept glancing around, his fingers trembling around his cup. Fan leaned in several times, whispering urgently. At one point, Yu's face went pale. He stood, said, "If they find out, it's over," and walked out into the wind. By nightfall, they had both checked into the hotel. Staff remembered them as polite but withdrawn. Yu barely spoke, his eyes shadowed by sleeplessness. Fan carried the luggage, nodded to the clerk, and asked for privacy. Room 807 overlooked the sea, a quiet corner of the top floor. The security camera captured their arrival at 22:12. 40 minutes later, the first strange noise echoed through the hallway, metal against tile, followed by muffled voices. At 22:58, a light flickered in the window. At 23:03, the call for help was placed. By the time paramedics arrived, Menglong was unresponsive. The official report claimed there were no signs of struggle, no forced entry, no drugs in his system. When investigators retrieved fam Shiqi's phone, they found the recording hidden in a secure folder, labeled not with words, but with a single emoji. When the footage was first shown to investigators, the room went silent. Even the seasoned officers, used to the worst of human suffering, felt a shiver crawl up their spines. The scene began innocuously, Yu sitting on the floor, breathing heavily, murmuring something inaudible. Fan's voice off camera, "Menglong, what's wrong? You need help." Yu shook his head. "Don't open the door," he whispered. "Who's out there?" Fan asked. "No one," Yu replied, though his eyes never left the door. "Just keep filming. You'll see." The minutes that followed descended into chaos. Yu's body convulsed violently, knocking over a lamp. His eyes turned into guttural gasps, his hands clutching at his chest. Fan screamed his name, rushing forward, and the phone toppled onto the carpet. Recording, a blur of motion, a single, strangled breath, then silence. Froze on the dim outline of Yu's body before cutting to black. When the video ended, no one spoke. Officer reportedly muttered. He looked terrified, likely saw something we couldn't. The release of that video months later reawakened a nation's collective obsession with tragedy. News outlets turned every frame into spectacle. Fans clung to theories like lifelines. But beyond the hysteria, some saw something more profound, an artist caught between fame and fear. Recording his final performance not for applause, but for truth. Those closest to Yu described his final weeks as a downward spiral fueled by paranoia. He'd become convinced that someone was watching him, accepting his messages, tracking his movements. He'd say things like, "They won't let me leave," recalled a crew member from his last project. Thought it was exhaustion. But now, the sentence never finished. Fam Shiqi, meanwhile, became trapped between guilt and grief. In his initial statement to police, he admitted he hadn't understood what Yu meant by they. "I thought he was being dramatic," he said quietly. He was tired. We all were. I just wanted to keep him calm. But when asked why he kept filming even after Yu began seizing, Fan's only response was, "Because he told me to." As the world argued over what really happened, small details slipped through the cracks. The hotel's electrical system had suffered intermittent failures that night, lights flickering, alarms glitching, cameras skipping frames. The hallway footage from 2250 to 2300 hours was corrupted beyond recovery. When technicians tried to restore it, the only thing they retrieved was a single frozen image of the elevator doors, faintly ajar. No one stepping in or out. Or multiplied. Some claimed the room was cursed, others believed it was all a cover-up. The truth, however, stranger still. Forensic analysts discovered that the video file from Fan's phone contained metadata linking it to another device, an external source that had connected via Bluetooth moments before recording. Yet no such device was found. Fan insisted he had only one phone. Then who, or what, was connected, one detective murmured. Investigations stalled. Menglong's fans refused to let his name fade. They organized vigils outside the hotel, leaving flowers, letters, and candles spelling his initials. At midnight, they would play his songs, their voices trembling through the night air. To them, he wasn't just an actor. He was a symbol of fragility, of truth lost in silence, of light extinguished too soon. But behind the candlelight and grief, one question burned brighter than ever. What was Menglong trying to reveal? In the weeks before his death, been secretly compiling something, a folder on his laptop titled "The Curtain Must Fall." It was rumored to contain evidence about corruption in the industry. No one ever saw it. After his passing, the laptop vanished. When police eventually recovered it, the drive had been wiped clean, except for one text file left behind, containing just a single sentence. Truth dies when silence becomes a habit. That line became both prophecy and curse. Shiqi's life unraveled in the aftermath. Brands cut ties. Fans turned against him. Strangers flooded his messages with accusations. Yet through it all, he never spoke publicly again. In his final statement before retreating from the spotlight, he said only, "I filmed because he wanted the world to see. But I never knew what it would cost." The cost was everything. His career, his peace, his soul. And for Menglong, the cost was his life. As the first anniversary of his death approached, final piece of evidence emerged from the shadows. Forensic technician, re-examining the phone months later, found a hidden fragment of video embedded deep within the corrupted data. Just 11 seconds long. It showed Menglong staring into the lens, hollow yet resolute, his voice barely a whisper. "This isn't goodbye." Then the image cut out. Those words would haunt the world for years to come. Became the bridge between mystery and myth, between reality and fear. And as people stared into the flickering screen, frozen on that final frame, they realized the truth wasn't lost. It was still there, waiting. Somewhere between pixels and silence. The footage changed everything. The question was no longer how Menglong died, but why. The morning after the footage was released, the world seemed quieter, but only on the surface. Every screen flickered with fragments of that 2-minute 43-second clip, dissected, slowed down, enhanced, re-uploaded thousands of times by people desperate to find something everyone else had missed. Hashtags multiplied like wildfire. A digital cry for answers. What happened to Menglong? Shiqi truth, room 807. Internet was no longer watching, it was hunting. Chaos of theories and rumors. Shiqi vanished from public view. The last known photo of him, taken outside a police station, showed a man stripped of everything except a hollow stare. He didn't speak when reporters shouted questions, he didn't flinch when camera flashes burst around him like gunfire. Something inside him had broken. Those who once called him friend now whispered his name with uncertainty, unsure whether to pity or fear him. Behind the scenes, investigators worked through the night, piecing together what really happened inside room 807. The security footage was grainy, incomplete. Hotel staff offered conflicting statements. Some claimed they heard shouting. Others insisted it was just a dropped object. Aide said she saw a shadow moving behind the curtains even after the noise stopped. When pressed, she trembled and refused to say more. The medical examiner's report arrived days later, wrapped in sterile precision. No external injuries. No trace of drugs or toxins. Heart failure induced by acute stress. But what kind of stress could freeze a man's heart mid-beat? The report answered nothing. It only deepened the silence. Shiqi was called in for questioning again. Under fluorescent lights that hummed like mosquitoes. His hands fidgeted on the table. The knuckles raw from biting cold or sleepless nights. When asked why he had recorded the video, he hesitated. The room held its breath. "Me too," he finally whispered. The investigators exchanged glances. "You're saying Menglong asked you to record him?" "Yes," fans said, eyes unfocused. He said, "If something happens, people should know." He didn't tell me what. Only that I shouldn't stop filming. Confession spread like gasoline over dry grass. If true, it meant the footage wasn't an accident, it was a message. What message? And for whom? A week later, a digital forensics team uncovered an anomaly within the video file, an embedded audio layer, almost inaudible beneath the ambient noise. When isolated and amplified, a faint voice emerged. It was Menglong's. The words were fragmented, distorted by static. But one sentence was clear: "If they find out, it's over." The chilling phrase sent shockwaves through the investigation. Who were they? Forums erupted with theories. Some claimed it referred to a secret relationship. Others to dispute with powerful producers. A few even whispered about a private organization controlling celebrity careers. A shadow syndicate that erased problems before they reached the public. Each theory was more elaborate than the last. But none could explain the sheer terror in Menglong's final expression, the way his eyes darted as if seeing something no one else could. Meanwhile, Shiqi remained silent. The legal team begged him not to speak to the press. Silence became its own confession. People demanded answers. And when none came, they began to build their own truths. Fan was demonized, canonized, pitied, cursed, all in the same breath. Then, one night, a new clip surfaced online. It was only 11 seconds long. Grainier than the first. Clearly taken from the same device. In it, Menglong looked directly into the camera. His face was pale. His lips trembling. "This isn't goodbye," he said. Voice barely audible. Before the frame flickered to black. The clip ended with a burst of static that some swore contained a whispered word, others heard nothing at all. The existence of a second recording reignited the storm. Analysts claimed it was impossible for anyone outside the investigation to have leaked it. Was it Shiqi himself? Or someone inside the police department? The line between truth and illusion blurred until no one could tell the difference. Investigators traced the upload to an anonymous source in another city. But the IP trail went cold. Theories spiraled again. Maybe Menglong had scheduled a video to upload posthumously. Maybe he'd known his end was near. Maybe, just maybe, he was still alive. Some fans refused to believe he was gone, insisting he had faked his death as part of an elaborate plan to expose corruption in the entertainment industry. All, Shiqi's name remained a wound that wouldn't heal. Days turned into weeks. And he stopped eating, stopped speaking. His final interview with detectives. He said only one thing: he wanted the truth out. Even if it meant dying for it. After that, withdrew completely from public life. His apartment lights never seen on again. Months later, when the case officially closed, the report concluded that Menglong had died of acute psychological shock leading to convulsion and cardiac arrest. A line so clinical it drained the humanity from the tragedy. The public wasn't satisfied. The footage had shown something primal: fear, recognition, surrender. Wanted meaning, not medical terminology. Independent journalists began their own investigations, chasing leads the police had ignored. Tracked down the hotel electrician who had serviced a room that week. He spoke reluctantly. But one detail stood out: the night after Menglong's death, the entire corridor's electrical system had short-circuited. All the lights went out at once, he said. And for a moment, I swear I heard someone breathing behind me, but no one was there. Another journalist found that the room had been booked under a different name, a pseudonym that translated to "Return of Silence." The same phrase appeared in one of Menglong's last social media posts, uploaded just hours before his death. Sometimes silence says more than truth. Those words became haunting. Fans printed them on candles, posters, memorial ribbons. Vigils spread across cities. Thousands gathered at midnight, holding up their phones with screens glowing like fireflies, whispering his name into the dark. It wasn't just mourning, it was communion. But beneath the mourning, another layer of truth began to surface. Close friends revealed that Menglong had been working on a secret documentary project, one that aimed to expose hidden exploitation within the industry. Several files recovered from his laptop contained notes titled "The Curtain Must Fall." The project vanished after his death, deleted, overwritten, erased from every backup, except for one fragment, a short script describing a man trapped in a hotel room, recording his final confession while unseen forces close in. That script's final line matched the words from the second video, "This isn't goodbye." The implications were devastating. Had Yu Menglong foreseen his own fate? Or was the film merely a reflection of the paranoia that consumed him in his final days? Experts argued endlessly. But no one could confirm what came first, the art, or the warning. In the months that followed, the case faded from headlines but not from memory. Documentaries were made, each offering a different truth. Some painted Yu Menglong as a martyr of conscience, as a victim of fame's crushing loneliness. Shiqi was portrayed as both betrayer and guardian, one who witnessed everything yet could never tell the whole story. Then, on the first anniversary of Yu Menglong's death, something unexpected happened. A new post appeared on his verified social media account. It contained no text, only a black screen and a faint whisper. When the audio was enhanced, it revealed two words, "Look deeper." The platform immediately launched an investigation, claiming the account had been hacked. Fans weren't convinced. Within hours, millions had viewed it, convinced that the message was from him. Days, speculation reached fever pitch. Some said it was a scheduled post from a forgotten marketing campaign. Others insisted it was proof that someone still controlled his digital legacy from the shadows. A few whispered that it was Yu Menglong himself, reaching through the static one last time. The investigation into the account hack went nowhere. Post was deleted, the servers wiped. Official statement urged everyone to respect the deceased and move on, but no one did. Because moving on would mean accepting that the mystery had no resolution, and human hearts rarely allow that. Shiqi resurfaced briefly in a rural clinic months later. Thin as paper, unrecognizable. A nurse claimed he spent hours staring at the wall, murmuring fragments of conversations as if replaying them in his head. When asked about Yu Menglong, he only said, "I was trying to tell you something." Then, as if realizing he'd spoken too much, he smiled weakly and fell silent again. Later, the legend of Yu Menglong's final seconds still lingers. Every few months, a new analysis appears online, a slowed-down frame, a spectral image, a theory tying his death to something larger, darker, unaimable. Yet the deeper people look, the more the truth slips away, by reflections of their own fear and fascination. Perhaps that's the cruel irony of all mysteries. They survive not because they hide something, but because they reveal too much of us. Yu Menglong's death became a mirror, and in it, the world saw its own hunger, for answers, for spectacle, for meaning in the unbearable silence. And no one truly knows what Yu Menglong saw in those last moments, or why he wanted the world to see it too. Footage remains locked away, sealed by authorities who claim it's too distressing for public release. But some say the sound of his final breath still echoes faintly in the recovered audio file, like a sigh caught between truth and oblivion. And somewhere in the endless replay, between pixels and static, the whisper returns once more. This isn't goodbye.